Krishna.
It's too much. I mean, relax. For the fourth time. Jaya Radha Madhava Hey, this is a little different Sunday program, but this is a Sunday program. We're not at the temple, but we're at the temple, or the temple is with us. I'm going to be aware of the online devotees at the same time be a little bit interactive and specifically directing things to the little audience here. For the last few weeks, there's been discussion on one topic and we're moving on to the next. But that topic has to do with the first 3 chapters of Canto 1 Srimad Bhagavatam involves a series of questions and answers. Very fundamental questions that make up an expanded version of the rest of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. So would you like to review what those questions and answers were? Say yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Back to school, right? But this isn't virtual, like you're present in the classroom. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the foremost means of knowing anything, foremost means of certainly of knowing that which is the source of everything. Vedanta, you familiar with Vedanta Sutra? Vedanta Sutra? No. Okay. The Vedas are vast. We're going to hear about it in this chapter 4. The Vedas, at one time, vast Vedas, was one Veda. And then along came Kali Yuga. And Vyasadeva, we're going to hear in this chapter, he divided the Vedas into 4. And in fact, that's what his name means, Veda. Vyasa. He divided the one Veda into 4. Rig, Samad, Yarjur, and the Tarva Veda. We're going to hear chapter 4. So, in addition to those 4 Vedas, there were some remaining verses from the one Veda. And he then took those verses and compiled texts that explained the 4 Vedas. There's the Shrutis, that's the 4 Vedas. And there's that which explains the Shrutis, called Smritis. The Puranas, the Itihasas means like Mahabharata. And Vyasa's composition of Ramayana is the same type or category or style of history called Itihasa. And then other literatures, the Jyotisha text and the Ayurveda text and other texts that make up part of the vast body of Vedic wisdom. Of those totality of all the Vedas now in a divided form, there's one amongst them is outstanding. It's a long description how we come to say that. But the Vedas say that about Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll go through it a little bit. Are you all familiar with the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan? Yes. Fantastic. Yes or no? Not exactly. Okay. You know who is Krishna? Of course. And Krishna appeared in the previous yuga, right? The end of Dwarka Yuga. And at the end of his pastimes, one of the things he left behind was Bhagavad Gita. And the essence instruction of Bhagavad Gita is 1866. Surrender unto me. Right? You familiar? Your wife isn't shaking her head yes. You're a little bit familiar. Okay. It's a celebrated verse. Kids, do you know the verse? Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma suchaha. You do know. Your younger sister knows. Do you know also? No. How do you know and she doesn't know? Okay. Okay. Let's do it again. It's a nice verse. I'll say it slower. Sarva dharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma suchaha. We'll say it again. It is a really nice verse. In that verse, Krishna is saying, the conclusion of the whole Bhagavad Gita is Sarva dharma, all varieties of dharma or religion or religious duty, it's subordinate to one principle. What's that one principle? Mam ekam sharanam. Mam ekam, me alone. Sharanam, surrender. Surrender unto me. All other dharmas are subordinate to that one dharma. They're ineffective if it doesn't reach that one. They're made effective if they reach that one. So that's the Bhagavad Gita conclusion. And Kali Yuga, and after Dwarf Yuga comes this one, the bad one, the age of quarrel. It gets worse and worse. Probably you've noticed. And so Krishna was concerned. People in Kali Yuga, they're not going to understand how to surrender unto me. They need an example. There's the teaching, but teaching needs example. So how to do that? So he considered ways to do that, and he thought, well, I could send somebody or give some teachers, but best is if I come and do myself. I'll show them how to, but to do that, I have to come as a devotee of myself. So he came as a devotee of himself. That is Lord Chaitanya. He's a little kid. He's got a plan. Okay. Krishna himself, in the complexion of Radha and the mood of Radha. So that's Lord Chaitanya. He's in Radha's mood and he's golden, like Radha's golden, like molten gold. Not just gold, molten gold. And he taught how to. And when he taught how to, especially to his devotees, and empowered them to write literature to explain how to in detail. And one of those was Jiva Goswami. There's the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. You've heard of them. They're followers of Lord Chaitanya who wrote books explaining how to, according to the life example and the teaching that Lord Chaitanya gave them. And one of those is Jiva Goswami. And Jiva Goswami wrote an explanation that's very detailed and elaborate to explain what I just started to share with you. Of all the means of knowing, the best means of knowing is Shabda. the Smriti portion is better than the Shruti portion. He gives this explanation. And amongst the Smriti portion, the Srimad Bhagavatam is best. And there's many statements in the other Puranas that say there's many kings, but this one's the emperor amongst kings. It says in different references within this Purana, that Purana, the other Purana, they all say that Purana is the best. It's the best. It's the best means of knowing what you want to know. If you want to know that's Puranic literature. But someone's questioning, and a learned person is answering. That learned person received their knowledge from that Purusheya Shabda source. They're just transmitting that knowledge from the perfect person, God, from Krishna, that he gives the Vedas. So let's go through the place, the scene, like Bhagavad Gita opens at Kurukshetra battlefield. So Bhagavatam opens up at Naimisharanya. I've been to Naimisharanya, it's a very nice place. It's a holy place in the north of India. It's in Uttar Pradesh. And it's a place where it's said to be the hub of the universe. So the sages got there, so that's the place. The sages went to that place because they knew Kali Yuga has begun. They knew by the Vedas, they knew by astrology, and they also knew by symptoms, things are getting bad. So they wanted to do something. They're sages. So they decided to do what they know how to do. They planned to perform an extended sacrifice meant for minimizing the ill effects of the sage of Kali. They went to Naimisharanya because it said performances there expand through the whole universe because it's the hub of the universe. It's a good plan. And when they began their sacrifices, they noticed amongst them was Sutta Goswami. We've told a little bit about Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami was the son of Ramaharshan Sutta. We'll hear about it with chapter 4. Ramaharshan, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Sutta Goswami was the speaker. We'll go to who is Ramaharshan in that history shortly. So Sutta they respected him as not only he's learned into the Vedas, but he's realized it. And not only he's realized it, but he can teach it expertly. You know, some people say that they know, but they don't know. We all are experienced with that. And some people know, but they're not really good at teaching. But, you know, he is super qualified. So they respect him, and they ask him questions. And then he gives answers to those questions. So here's the 6 questions and 6 answers. Wow, you're getting 2 weeks in 10 minutes. So, first question. What's the all-around good for all people of all times? Regardless of anything, time, place, circumstance. What's the best thing? And best thing is devotional service. That's the answer that he gives. And then give the qualifier, devotional service that's not motivated to get something material, and it's not interrupted by anything material. And that kind of devotional service can completely satisfy the self. Yenatma suprasidati, su prasana. Not only prasana, but su prasana. completely satisfied within. Then what is that? What is that subject matter that you should always hear, chant? Remember, what is the duty of somebody that's about to die? Because he's about to die. Maharaj Parikshit was about to die, but we're all about to die. You don't even say, not just coronavirus, but today or tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, we're all going to, the body is perishable and it's gone. So what's the duty of somebody that knows that? Whether it's 7 days or 7 years or 7. There you go. You must have read the Bhagavatam, or do you attended the classes? Okay. So that's it. That's it. So that's 2 questions, 2 answers. Then another question was, please describe the forms of the Lord as they appear in this world for the purpose of creation. This is the Purusha avatars. That's actually question number 4. Question number 3 is, what's his reason? So there's the personality of God who exists in the spiritual world. There's creation. Why does he come here? And the answer given is kind of divided, but the answer is to deliver those that are in the quality of goodness. We discussed that actually with the Indianapolis devotees today. And those that are not in the mode of goodness, that's everybody else in this age, it's everybody, to attract their hearts and minds, to go to the spiritual world, to connect again, to remember that which we have forgotten, our eternal relationship. So then there's just 2 more questions and 2 more answers. And the question number 5 is, describe the forms of the Lord as they appear in this world. The avatars. That's what the word avatar means. It's where they got the name for the movie. They didn't say anything about the Vedas. It's fiction. But the forms of the Lord as they appear in this world. So there's some discussion at the end of chapter 2 and beginning of chapter 3 about the Purusha avatars. Purusha avatars means Vishnu. Mahavishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, Shiradakshay Vishnu, the 3 forms of Vishnu that have entirely, they're involved with the process of creation. They're not present in Vaikuntha. They're present in this realm for the purpose of creation. And then this next question, forms of the Lord, the Leela avatars. Primarily they're described, but there's other categories of avatars they're also touched on. And then at the end of that section, that's text 6 through 27, chapter 2, is the Leela avatars, and Krishna is mentioned as one of the Leela avatars. Krishna is one of the Leela avatars. And they're all described as avatars of Vishnu. Everybody that's involved with the Vedas knows that. The avatars are forms that appear in this world as avatars of Vishnu. And then it says something kind of like a 180 U-turn. It says, of all those avatars, one is the source of all of them. And that one that's the source of all of them is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Wait a minute. We had this discussion this afternoon, so let's have it a little bit now. And then we'll do it again at the end because people are going to not get it. But wait a minute. Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu, and Krishna is the source of all the avatars. Sounds like double up. What's going on here? And it goes like this. But that verse is very important. It's Paribhasa Sutra. It's the principal verse of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. Because He's the source of everything. Vedanta is pursuing what's the source of everything. That verse is saying the source of everything is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, including all the avatars, including all the incarnations, including the Vishnus. He's the source of everything, including them. Yet he appears by his own will as an avatar of Vishnu. So I go a little bit like slowly. There's this material world, and avatars appear in the material world. Before they appear in the material world, they exist in Vaikuntha. They have their abode, they have their associates, they have their lila, they have their whole, everything eternally is going on. And from time to time, yada yadahi dharma shiblani, when there's discrepancy in dharma, he appears. Forms of the Lord appear. That's what avatars are. So they exist in the spiritual world. Vishnu doesn't exist in the spiritual world. Vishnu is an eternal form whose function is only with material creation. Let's say the same thing in a different way. Inside every living entity, there's a jiva, living, that's the soul, Chinese part. And there's a paramatma. So question, is there paramatma in the spirit, in Vaikuntha? Because he's before them. But when we turn our attention away from him, he hides himself inside. He accompanies us as our best friend. Suradam, Sarvadehinam. He's the best friend. We're turning away from him and he's staying with us anyways. He's our best friend. But when you turn your attention again to him, you go to Vaikuntha. There's no super soul. Because there he is as Narayan. We go to Goloka, and there he is as Krishna. Or go to Yodhya, and there he is as Ram. No super soul. So, avatars of Vishnu have an existence before they're avatars. They have an eternal existence in the Vaikuntha realm. And the avatars, can appear however they like. So a very simple way to say the same thing is the worldly example. There's a front door to this apartment, and it's right over there. And now we're assembled here. Before we were here, we were somewhere else. And then we came through the door. Now we're here. And then we're going to depart, at least those of us that are guests. When you go shopping, you're also going to have to depart, unless you have your groceries delivered. So, we existed before we're here. And the avatars existed before they're here too. They exist in the spiritual world, and Krishna is the source of all of them. That's the statement of the Bhagavatam. So we'll go on, because I'm just doing review and I haven't even covered today's chapter. And then the final question, but that's a very important verse. Ete Changsa Kala Pungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna is the source. He is that which is the source of everything. In reverse. There isn't anything that exists that hasn't come from Krishna. Say it the other way. Everything, same as Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matav sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam bhutavava samandita. Important verse. You can look it up later. Chapter 10, text number 8. Look it up. It's a good one. Same. He's the source of everything. He's the absolute truth. Bhagavan, in person, in his personal form, with pastimes and associates and a flute and everything. House. Ooh. The last question is, now that Krishna has left, we've transitioned from Dwarpa Yuga, now we're in Kali Yuga. when Krishna was present, everything was nice. Wherever he placed his lotus feet, all auspiciousness was created on earth. Everything. Demons were destroyed and auspiciousness was abundant, and he's gone. So where will religious principles now take shelter? The answer is Srimad Bhagavatam. Brilliant as the sun, appearing shortly after the departure of Krishna from this world. That is the chapter. So now that's the first 3 chapters, the first 6 questions, 6 answers, that leads to other questions. So a natural question that begins chapter 4 is, please describe how Srimad Bhagavatam made its appearance. Nice question. Like sometimes we observe, once a year, we observe the appearance of Krishna, Krishna's birthday, Krishna Janmashtami. Or we observe the appearance of Radharani or the appearance of Balaram. There's a nice festival in Vrindavan, the appearance of Radha Kund, really nice festival. So what about how did Bhagavatam appear? That's a nice question. That's how it starts. So the person's asking, it's an important detail, that the person who is asking is a descendant of Bhrigu. And Bhrigu is a very celebrated sage. Not only he's Brahmana, he's an outstanding sage amongst sages, without detail. But the person that he's inquiring from, and he's very elderly, very, very senior, master of all the Vedas. And the person who he's inquiring from is Sutta. And who is Sutta? Well, Sutta is not a Brahmana. He's in this, what's called in Sanskrit, a pratiloma marriage, or the result of, there's details, but in Vedic culture, a man, a Brahmana, may marry a Brahmani, or a Brahmana may marry a Kshatriya's daughter, or down, but not the other way around. In Vedic culture, the girl that's the Brahmana doesn't marry down. She has to look up to her husband. So the father of Sutta was born with such parentage. His mother, Maharshan Sutta's mother, was a Brahmana, and the husband was of a lesser status by birth than her. But he was conferred the title of Brahmana because of his quality. But no one ever brought it up until an unfortunate incident took place. The unfortunate incident took place in relation to Balaram. Vallabha was Balaram. And Balaram decided to go on tour, on visit places of pilgrimage. He didn't want to take part. Krishna didn't want to take part in the Kurukshetra battle. So he did one thing. He said, I won't take part in the battle, but I'll be with whoever wants me, and my armies can be with the other side. You know that incident, right? Well, now you do. So Duryodhana said, fantastic, I'll take your armies. He had a big army. And Arjuna said, fantastic, I'll take you. And Krishna said, very well, but I won't fight, I'll just be your chariot driver. Fantastic. So that was the arrangement. And wherever there's Krishna and Arjuna, there's sure to be victory. That's written in Bhagavad Gita. And sure enough, that's what happened. What did Balaram do? Yeah, I'm not going to take part in the battle either. But he went on pilgrimage to holy places. And one of the holy places he went to, when he visited there, Maharshan was on an elevated seat, and he was speaking something from the Vedas, from the Puranas, because he was entrusted by Vyas. He was a student of Vyas, entrusted by Vyas when he divided the Vedas and wrote the Puranic literature. He entrusted that to Ramaharshan. And their service, each one of the four Vedas was entrusted to a very prominent student of Vyas, and he had his people that assisted him. And they further subdivided the Vedas, and their service was to expand it and to preserve it. So one of the ways that the Sanskrit reciters would preserve something is they would say it forwards and backwards. Like, not like school. But their memories were so sharp, but they didn't even have to write things down until Vyas came along. So then it became written down. But that's how they were taught. The Ramaharshan was a very respected personality, disciple of Vyas. But when Balaram entered that arena where Ramaharshan was speaking, everybody rose. Here comes the personality of Godhead, Lord Balaram. Everyone stood, because that's what you do when you're a cultured person. When a respected person comes, you stand, please, or pay obeisances. So everyone stood except one person, Ramaharshan. And he was thinking, well, I'm the speaker, and so I should keep seated. And Balaram understood he's not qualified, because if you're speaking, and here comes the person you're speaking about, you continue speaking, he's not qualified. So he picked a blade of grass, pusa grass, and with just the pointed part of the grass, he touched his heart and pierced his heart. He died instantly. So the assembly, they were like, and Balaram said, well, if you want, I can bring it back to life. He said, no, what you did, you're the personality of Godhead, but what are we going to do? We have the ceremony and bloody mess right now, we have to clean up. But how are we going to carry on? And Balaram said, very important, he said, the son of the father represents the father, and so the son can speak, and I give him the following blessing, that he will live a long life, what is it that he also said? Yeah, and then he'll have unfailing sensory capacity. Now, senses are commonly used for gathering sense perceptions. But if you have spiritual senses, we don't. We have material senses. But his senses would be unfailing. He'd be able to see and understand things instantly in an absolute fashion. That's a nice benediction. So Sutta was approached by Shaunaka. So let's do this. In civilized society, respect goes to persons who are elderly. Respect goes to persons who are brahmanas in cultured society. Respect goes to persons who are highly learned, vastly learned in all the fields of the Vedas. And here's another person who's born different than the Pratiloma father, by birth. He's much younger. He isn't vastly learned in all the Vedas like Shaunaka. And yet Shaunaka is sitting at his feet wanting to hear from him. Why? Because he had heard from Shukadeva Goswami. And he had realized all that he had heard from Shukadeva Goswami based on this benediction that he received from Balaram. So, although Shaunaka has all qualifications, what's the main qualification? It's not all those other ones. All those other ones are zero, but they're subordinate to the one that's most important, and that is that you've heard from the right source and you realize from the right source. So birth isn't the issue, education isn't the issue, Realization is the issue. And his speaking wasn't parrot-like. This is Prabhupada's comment from this chapter 4. He was speaking from realization. Prabhupada said that about his writings. Why is it people are mad after these books? That is to say, in the history of Vedic culture, the history of people trying to bring, how many translations of Bhagavad Gita are there in English? During Prabhupada's time, there were over 100. Now there's more than 100. But who was becoming a devotee of Krishna from reading Bhagavad Gita by these other 100 authors? There weren't devotees of Krishna. But from reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, they're devotees of Krishna coming. Why? Because it's being spoken from realization. Or Krishna is dictating, Prabhupada was speaking. That's the potency, that's the power. It's not the erudition or the scholarship, but it's the realization. That's the qualification. And that your realization requires purity. So when one becomes a pure devotee, as Prabhupada became, or Sutta had become, then they want to hear from him. So this is now the connection between chapter 4, which we're discussing now, and chapter 3. Chapter 3, Srimad Bhagavatam, is Krishna in this present age. It's the personal form of Krishna after Krishna's departure in the literary form. So now I want to hear more about Srimad Bhagavatam. So the chapter 4 begins with this, again, appreciation by the sages of Sutta's qualification, as they had done in chapter 1. They're doing it again in chapter 4. And Sutta's appreciating their wonderful questions. And he begins speaking. Here's Shonaka's 3 questions that get answered over the next 3 chapters, 4, 5, and 6. So here's the 3 questions. Listen carefully. In what period, this is 143 Bhagavatam, in what period and at what place was the compiling of Srimad Bhagavatam first begun? And why did Vyasa take this up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, the great sage, get his inspiration to compile this literature? Question number 1. When, why, what was his motivation, inspiration? Second question is about Shukadev. So first is Vyasa, the compiler. Then we're going to hear something about Shukadev. And Shukadev was Vyasa's son, but he had a very interesting birth, as you may know. He remained in the womb of his mother for 16 years, poor mom, because he was Brahman realized, and his consideration was, well, inside the womb or outside the womb, it's all one, so might as well stay here, because I go outside the womb and it's mode of ignorance out there. It's Kali Yuga, so I'm safer here. I'll just stay here. There's some detail that Vyasadeva had to get Krishna to come all the way from Dwaraka to his ashram and promise Shukadev, you won't be victimized by the influence of Kali Yuga. Please come out. So he came out. It's a Puranic description. So when he came out, he just left. Then there's some detail. He left. Vyasadeva enticed him to come back by messages of the Bhagavatam. He engaged him along with his other students in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he became qualified to speak it by being trained by his father in Srimad Bhagavatam. There's more details, but so now Shonaka wants to hear about Shukadev. Why was it that Shukadev, being an Atmarama personality, fully satisfied within, totally detached from the world, he's going to sit down with the householder and hear and study? He's already self-realized. So why is he studying anything from a householder? He's a detached sadhu. Can you explain that, please? And when he returned, it's described, it's summarized, when he returned to speak to Maharaj Parikshit, he appeared like a disheveled madman. And how did people recognize him to be the speaker of the Bhagavatam? Because they had never seen him before. He just came out of nowhere. But they immediately recognized him. So by what symptoms did they recognize him? That's a nice question. And then the third question, the questions answers, right? So the third question, why did Maharaj Parikshit, who was exalted person, even before his birth he saw Krishna, he was a powerful king, giving protection to all the citizens of the land, and he was the ruler of the world, not, a small place. Why did he renounce all of that and sit on the bank of the Ganges, preparing to fast till death? Could you explain that a little bit, please? That's Shonaka asking. It's not like Shonaka didn't know, but he wanted to hear from the realized person. You follow? It wasn't just information. He wanted realized knowledge from the realized person. And so that remainder of the chapter goes from text 14 to verse 33. It gives the history of how the Srimad Bhagavatam appeared. And here's how it appeared. Now, our particular, let's step back. At the end of every Dwarpa Yuga, Kali Yuga follows. And at the end of every Dwarpa Yuga, there's somebody that does what Vyasa does. They take the one Veda and they divide it into four, Veda Vyasa. Our particular Vyasa is an incarnation of Krishna. Not every Vyasa is an incarnation of Krishna. They're empowered to do, but our particular Vyasa is Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa. There's a long description in Vishnu Purana of how that took place. Rashamuni and Satyavati and Krishna was born as Veda Vyasa. Krishna Dvaipayana, he was born on an island. You know the story? About Krishna, how Vyasadeva was born as the son of Rashamuni and Satyavati? Don't know the story. Would you like to hear the story? We're going over time. I hope that's okay.
Yes.
No problem. Story. Enough of this philosophy. More stories. Okay. Parashara Muni, great sage, speaker of Vishnu Purana, but he described in Vishnu Purana that one day he was crossing the river and the boat person was a lady, Satyavati. Satyavati was the daughter of a fisherman. And the fisherman thought, maybe my daughter will get blessings from the sage if she's serving as a boat person, taking people across the river. So he had her do that. And so he was going across the river, and he was doing some calculations. using his computer. He was calculating, the astrological situation at the moment. And he came to the conclusion right now is the opportunity for a personality of God to appear in this world. So he said, Satyavati, would you kindly agree to be the mother of the personality of Godhead? And I'll be the father? And she said, well, I'm not married. And he said, don't worry. This is a situation where you won't lose your virginity. And she said, well, we're in a boat in the middle of the river and everyone will see what's going on. And he said, don't worry. I have mystic powers and I'll create an island and no one will be able to see. And then she said, well, what about the fact that I'll be pregnant for some months and everyone will see that? He said, don't worry. The child will be born immediately after your pregnancy. So she's a great sage, and she agreed. Satyavati became the mother of Vyas. And just as on an island, Dvipa means island. Dvaipayana, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas. And so Vyas said when he appeared, he's in this adult form. Like, voila. Pretty, unusual. And told the Palm, said to Satyavati, I have service to do. At any time that you need me, you just call my name and I will come at once. And that's it. She didn't see Vyas again. So when she got home, she said, Dad, guess what happened? You won't believe it. And Parashara gave her this benediction that because she was the daughter of a fisherman, she smelled like a fish. But so her fragrance was like changed, and her bodily fragrance was like scent of musk, and very beautiful because she didn't have a beautiful form before. So her father believed her, and that your son will become the next king. So the fisherman's daughter is told that her first son will become the next king. That's Satyavati. Then there's a long story we won't go into it. It's another long story. But Vyasadeva is Krishna. Not all at the end of every Dwarpa Yuga, at the beginning of Kali Yuga, it's not always Krishna, it's somebody. In fact, Parashara says in Vishnu Purana that in a previous cycle of yugas, 2 yuga cycles ago, I was Vyas. But this Vyas is the best because his Mahabharata is superlative. Because one of the things that Vyas does, he takes the Vedas and divides them. And then when Kali Yuga is over, it goes back up to Satya Yuga, and then there's one Veda again. I mean, some details are missing here, but that's okay. So, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas was, how did it happen? One of his capacities is he knows past, present, and future perfectly. We don't know anything perfectly. And he knows not only present perfectly, but past perfectly and future perfectly. And he looked into the future. And he saw what Kali Yuga is going to become. And so knowing that perfectly well, he wanted to do something. He's a great sage. And so his gift was literary gift, so he did the Vyas program. He took the one Veda, divided into 4, and wrote everything. Then as he wrote everything, he entrusted portions of the Vedas to different students. And it's mentioned which student was in charge of which Veda. I feel like we can read that because I have first canto with me. And Brahmaharshan is one who is entrusted with the Puranic portion of the Vedas. But strangely, he saw, when he was done with the whole work, he stepped back to see how does it come out. Just like, supposing, ladies, you're cooking for some function. You spend lots of time cooking, and you're really interested to see if people like it. How did it come out? Or supposing you're doing a paper for school and you work really hard, and then you step back, and how did it come out? Or there's a project at work, and you spend months doing the project at work, and then there's the dry run, or whatever you call it, and how did it come out? It's just natural. So Vyas did that, and he stepped back from it all, and it was like, I'm feeling dissatisfaction. And he was perplexed, because he's not a conditioned soul. And he did everything for the welfare of others. It wasn't a selfish act. It wasn't greedy for getting recognition. Just like, he was feeling what any honest person will feel. There's something missing. Something's missing. Something's missing. And voila, his spiritual master Narada, when he came into a landing, hey, Vyas, what's up? You don't look so good. What's happening? So Vyas started to inquire. Narada started to inquire from Vyas. Why is this despondency? That's the beginning of the next chapter. So I skipped some things that I wanted to speak about, but because of time, I spoke about other things instead. So that's chapter 4. It's laying the ground for responding to the question, how did Srimad Bhagavatam appear? It doesn't yet address the other two questions. They come in next chapters. So Shukadeva Goswami, how did they recognize Shukadeva Goswami when he came, and why was he at all interested in studying anything? Because he was already a Brahman realized person. You don't need to study anything when you're already there. When you go to school. And then the other question about Maharaj Kriksha. Why did he renounce his kingdom? So we're going to hear those things that's coming attraction. Stay tuned for the next episode. Srimad Bhagavatam. But the whole of the Bhagavatam is revealing the absolute truth, and this is specifically the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam itself, and how did it appear, and what was the basis of its appearing. Vyasadeva wanted to do something for this age of Kali, seeing what it's going to be like. So he put the Vedas together, but there was something missing. And that's chapter 5. Let's see if there's some discussion. Anyone, so what we've been doing is the people who are present will take your questions first. And then after your questions, we'll go to the online questions, because there's some people online. Is anybody seated here that would like to have some discussion? Okay, pass the microphone over.
This is a question about Krishna's pastimes. So is there a reason why Krishna holded Govardhan hair on his pinky for 7 days and 7 nights?
Yeah, there's a reason. He was having fun. Do you do things when you, like, people wonder, why is she doing that? And I'm just having fun. It's a lila. That's what lila means. It's sport. Now, there were many things he was doing besides having fun. He was showing his divinity, that he's God, to the residents of Braja. Because after he put Govardhan Hill back down, there's a whole chapter where they get into it. They say, who is he? He's not one of us. Not one of us can't do what he just did. And then they start thinking of the other things and the other things and the other things that he did before lifting Govardhan Hill, where he was also showing his divinity. They say, he's not one of us. Who is he? So he wanted to inspire what's called a secondary rasa of astonishment. Have you heard about the rasas? Neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. Have you heard those 5?
It was yesterday's class.
Okay, let's go through it again. Let's go through it again slowly. So they're 5 in relation to God. So also in this world, there's different types of relationships, and there's subdivisions of those relationships. So one in relation to God is awe and veneration. He's almighty, all powerful, all this and all that. Awe and veneration. Then another, he's so wonderful, let me do something for him. Let me engage in service to him. That's another rasa, servitorship. Then when that servitorship becomes more and more and more and more intimate, it becomes friendship, like Arjuna. Arjuna and Krishna were friends. Sakha is the Sanskrit word. Bhaktosi me, Krishna said to Arjuna, you're my bhakta and you're my sakha, you're my very dear friend. Because of that, you'll understand everything I'm saying, and other people won't understand it, which is true. Those are Arjuna's qualifications. He's devotee and he's a friend. Then there's another kind of relationship, and that's where you look after somebody. Like maybe your older sister looks after you sometimes when you do like things that may get you hurt or something. She pulls you by the arm or by your ear and says, hey, wait a minute. The looking for the protection and well-being of somebody. Like parents to children, so that's parental affection. Or the elder to the younger kind of affection. Vatsalya is the Sanskrit word. And then there's conjugal, where in relation with God, he has queens, or in Braja, he has gopi friends. He's young boy, there's young girls, and it's not the material kind of interaction. It's a totally non-material relationship. So those are 5. Neutrality, awe and veneration, servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. 5. And divisions of those. And then there's 7 secondary rasas. I'm answering your question, why did Krishna lift Govardhan Hill? One of the 7 secondary rasas is astonishment. And the secondary rasas have a way of strengthening the primary rasa. It temporarily even may seem to cover over the primary rasa, but it's always there. It just strengthens the primary rasa. That's what secondary rasas do. So Krishna wanted to give that experience to the residents of Vrindavan where they would be astonished. And it worked. And it all got resolved. There's a way how it got resolved, but that you just go back to your question. Another reason he lifted the hill was he wanted to curb the pride of Indra. Because Krishna doesn't like it when his devotees have pride. And he knew. He was, far away from Indra, but he knew Indra's heart, because he's in his heart. And he's proud. I don't like pride. So he wanted to remove Indra's pride. And it worked. You know the story, right? How it worked? There was a sacrifice for Indra, and Krishna said, why sacrifice for Indra? Just let's worship Govardhan Hill. He had set several steps. So they worshiped Govardhan Hill. And Indra was, wait a minute. This little boy interrupting my sacrifice, I'll show him. Krishna knew he was going to do what he did, so Krishna did what Krishna did. He lifted the hill. With one hand. With the little finger of one hand. With his left hand. For 7 days and 7 nights. And no one got hungry. No one got thirsty. No one went to sleep. They weren't yawning or anything. Just like they were in ecstasy. And that was another thing. Krishna, in Krishna's pastimes, I'm answering your question, why did he do it? In Krishna's pastimes, every day he would do different things. There are different segments of the day. 8 segments of the day. So in the nighttime when he came back, the residents of Vrindavan, the elders, oh, our darling Krishna's come back, and they would bathe him and prepare a meal for him, and they were doting on him. But the cows, they were with Krishna all day long, and they're in the cow barn just mooing all night long. They couldn't sleep. They wanted to be with Krishna again. And the cowherd boys, they're playing with Krishna all day. Now at nighttime they have to go back home. Forget it. We want to be with Krishna. So at different times of the day, Krishna was with different people and not with other people. So they all wanted to be with Krishna uninterruptedly, so he fulfilled their desire. For 7 days. Everyone was with Krishna, uninterruptedly, fulfilling their heart's desire. That was one of the reasons why he did what he did. He could have done, the same thing in a different way, but he did it that way because he's the independent Supreme Lord who can do whatever he wants. And he wanted to draw attention to the fact that Govardhan is very special. So to this day, Govardhan is very special. Oh, it was before, but now those who visit Govardhan understand, and they feel it. One day you'll get to go to Govardhan. One day, have you been to Vrindavan? Yes? New Vrindavan. One day, may you one day go to the original Vrindavan. And when you go to the original Vrindavan, I'm sure you're going to want to go, not ride in a taxi around Govardhan Hill, but walk around Govardhan Hill. It takes about 6 to 8 hours, depends on how fast you walk. Krishna lifted the hill. And when you do that, you'll feel something. Not just from walking a long distance, but you'll feel close to Govardhan. And Govardhan's very merciful. You'll feel it. I can vouch for it. Krishna wanted that, so he lifted Govardhan Hill. And he showed that the hill is him. That's part of the story, right? Offer everything to Govardhan. I know some devotees that in their home, that's their deity. Lord Chaitanya worshipped Govardhan, Shila. You know that? There's this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. One time one sadhu had been visiting in Vrindavan, and he went from Vrindavan to pay his respects to Lord Chaitanya in Puri, And he brought him a Shalagram Shila. A small one, like that big, really small. And Lord Chaitanya, he rubbed it with his hands. You can see it's indented. The stone became indented because he rubbed it and held it to his eyes with tears, held it to his heart. He worshipped Govardhan in a very spontaneous, interesting way. And then he gave that Shalagram Shila to Raghunath Das Goswami to worship after he worshipped. And Raghunath understood, he's giving me residence at Govardhan, not just a Shila to worship. And there's a string of gunja berries, or little red berries that grow in Vrindavan. And so they're used along with the worship of Govardhan and represented Radha, who's giving him the mercy of Radharani and residence at Govardhan Hill. So that's where he went. When Krishna departed, he went to Govardhan and stayed there the rest of his life. Your sister's got a question.
So, did Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, come to the world, or did he come as an avatar of Vishnu?
Nice question. Sometimes he comes as an avatar, and sometimes he comes himself. So here's a picture. You ready? There's a day of Brahma and the night of Brahma. And Brahma lives for 100 years and then the universe is finished. So each day of Brahma, there's 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas. So we're in one of them, the bad one, called Kali Yuga. And the duration of Kali Yuga? 432,000 years, and it's only 5,000 that's passed. It's going to get worse and worse. But the previous yuga is 432,000 times 2. Or you add 432,000 to 432,000. You know what that is? Yeah. And then the previous yuga, you add another 432,000. And the previous yuga, you add another 432,000. So you get 10 times 432,000. That's the duration of one yuga cycle. For 4,320,000 years is one yuga cycle. And there's 1,000 of those in every day of Brahma. That's a big number. Add 3 more zeros. Once in a day of Brahma, Krishna appears and goes to Vrindavan. The other 999, because there's 1,000 yuga cycles, he appears as an avatar. He doesn't go to Vrindavan. He appears as a 4-armed Vishnu in every Dwapara Yuga, including this one when he appeared. 4-armed form in the prison house of Kamsa, right? Son of Vasudeva and Devaki, right? You're nodding. Yeah, so you know. Okay, so that's as an avatar. 4-armed Vasudeva Krishna, son of Vasudeva. But this one, and it's detailed. In the 7th Manu, in every day of Brahma there's 14 Manus. And Manu number 7 is our Manu. That's Vivaswata Manu, the son of the sun god Vivaswan. In the 27th or 28th cycle of the 4 yugas, during Vivaswata Manu, that's when Krishna goes to Vrindavan. And that's the Srimad Bhagavatam Krishna that we spoke about from chapter 3, text 28. That Srimad Bhagavatam Krishna, he's the source of all avatars. So now back to your question. Does Krishna always go to Vrindavan and appear as Srimad Bhagavatam Krishna? Only once in the day of Brahma. And the other ones, it's an avatar. You done? Okay. You have something else, or you're okay? Your sister. You're good. He's got something else. I could sense it. Go ahead, ask. Nothing. Nothing. Okay, great. Anybody else in our assembly here? Discussion? Okay. Okay, go ahead. we're way past time, but I think it's okay. If anybody that's online is getting restless, you can sign off and we're going to keep going.
Maharaj,
Go.
So Maharaj, the Vyasa Mahamuni in this particular cycle is Krishna himself as Dvapayana, Vyasadeva. So my question is, how should I understand the Leela that if he is same Krishna, he was in despondency?
It's a Leela.
Okay.
And so Narada could say, hey, Vyas, here's the thing that you missed. And then it's a Leela. It's a Leela. It's a Leela. That's how. Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
I was reading and discussing with other devotees, what happens to the person when he leaves the body? What happens to Paramatma who is there in the heart of everyone the moment he leaves? How should I understand that situation until he gets another body?
Easy. Paramatma is within the heart of the jiva.
Right.
So when the jiva goes across the floor, Paramatma is going with the jiva. When the jiva goes to another body, Paramatma goes with the jiva. He's the constant companion of the jiva until the jiva wakes up and says, whoa, I made a wrong turn. I should go to Krishna. And when he goes to Krishna, then they part ways.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. These Vedas, as you said, like initially it was one.
Yes.
And Vyasadeva converted into 4 Vedas.
Yeah.
So for God, these are only one, or these are for basically Kali Yuga people?
Yes.
But in Gita, like as Lord said, Vedanam Samvedyasmi, Devanam Srimad. So why he mentioned the Samaveda, if Vedas for him only one?
Well, amongst the Vedas, the Samaveda is especially appreciated. It's one of the 4, but it's especially appreciated in part because of its sweetness. Now, I'm not a scholar of Samaveda. I can only say what I've heard from our great acharyas, and I'm sharing what I've heard from them. Does that answer your question?
Yes, to some extent.
To some extent. Well, say it a little bit more because I'm not sure if I'm what it is that you're trying to get at.
Because Gita is not only for Kali Yuga people, it is covering from the time immemorial.
Well, all of the Vedas are eternal.
Okay.
Bhagavad Gita is manifest on the Kurukshetra battle.
Mm-hmm.
But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, this science I taught long ago. Same science to the sun god Vivaswan. There was not a battlefield. But the science is the same science. It's eternal. And it may resurface again, but it's the same science. It's eternal. Is that clarifying? Or no? No, not exactly.
Yes.
Say it again so I can understand what your question is.
I will repeat that question, Maharaj, if I have correctly understood. Vedas originally are one.
Yeah.
Okay, and Bhagavad Gita is
one of the ones. It's not separate from the one. Okay, here's how it works. This is Jiva Goswami explaining. It's really a nice example. Supposing a king has a treasury, and in his treasury he has so many jewels. And he says to somebody, could you put the diamonds over here, and the rubies over there, and the emeralds over there, and the other ones over there? So, somebody goes through the king's treasury and does that. That's what Vyas did. He explains, Jiva Goswami explains, previous yugas, when brahmanas were to perform a particular sacrifice, they knew which mantras to use. Knowing that in Kali Yuga people would be slower, they were divided to make it easier for the brahmanas that didn't know. They weren't as qualified as the previous Yuga brahmanas. So the mantras didn't change, he just grouped them. For this sacrifice and that particular part of the sacrifice and this mantra for these things. And he divided them to make it easier for Kali Yuga folks. But to say it's one doesn't mean he went on a creative writing spree. He just separated them. Using this example of a king's treasury that has all kinds of jewels, and the diamonds go here, and the rubies go there, and the emeralds go there, and the rest of them go over there. And that's what the Atharva Veda is. The rest of them go over there. Rig, Sama, Yajur. In the Atharva Veda, sometimes it says Tri Vedas. That's because the ones remaining go over there. Rig, Sama, Yajur, Veda. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay? And then there's the Atharva Veda. And it has functions that's different than Rig, Sama, and Yajur Vedas. More?
Yeah. Okay.
You good?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah. And one more question. Yesterday in our Bhakti Vriksha, not basically yesterday, day for yesterday, I was having one question, like the Gayatri mantra.
Yeah.
Why like it is spoken in the ear silently? At the time of Brahman initiation.
Yeah. Okay. Why is it whispered or spoken silently? Why is it quiet?
Yes.
That's your question?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's because it's confidential, and it's meant for qualified persons only, and to become qualified there's some prerequisites, purvascharya vidhis, in technical terms. So once one is qualified, then one may receive mantra. And it's only for qualified persons, and therefore it's spoken privately or in a whisper. And it's not to be chanted, once you receive it, it's not to be chanted aloud. It should be chanted privately. Is that clear?
But why privately?
Why?
Privately.
Why? Because it's confidential. You don't say it out loud, because other people that may not be qualified may hear. And so when you receive it and when you recite it, it's silent, or at most murmuring, because it's a confidential, not to be heard and recited by others. Now in Kali Yuga, people do all kinds of things. I won't say what some of those all kinds of things are, but even with the Vedas. So, what's special about the Hare Krishna mantra? We don't say it whisper or in your mind. We say it aloud, and there's a reason. It's from another section of the Vedas that's as Vedic as the others, but it doesn't have the same three elements that a Vedic mantra has. The Vedic mantra has bija, om or some other bija syllable, namaha, the offering obeisances unto, and then the narma portion, the name that's being invoked is given. That makes a Vedic mantra. So those Vedic mantras are to be received only by qualified persons. And so it's spoken in a whisper or in the ear, not aloud. And it's not to be recited aloud either. It's to be recited the same way it was received. Does that do it?
Yes, we do. Thank you. All right.
So we ask people to, chant Hare Krishna, because it's a special kind of mantra for this age of Kali. It's in the Upanishads. In this age of Kali, this is the best of all. It's called the Maha Mantra for this age of Kali. It's especially because it doesn't have the prohibition. It doesn't have those elements. but it has the name, and it has the appeal, Hare, O energy of the Supreme Lord, please engage me in service to the source of everything, Krishna. And when that service mood is awakened and the heart becomes cleansed, then one may receive the private Gayatri mantra. But you have to become qualified. In this age of Kali, who's qualified? Some people have to become qualified. And there's different ways, procedures, sadhanas to help become qualified.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have one quick question. Supreme Lord was created all these 4 yugas, right?
We created everything, so yeah, 4 yugas.
I including everything.
Okay.
So my question is why he created separate this
Why?
Kali Yuga with different than so complex. It's like Satya Yuga, somewhat better, Dwapara is something better. So why you chosen only Kali Yuga is so complex, so critical and so vast?
Well, let's step back from your question and ask another question. Why creation?
That is also my part of question.
Huh?
That is also my part of question.
Okay.
So because he is the creator, okay, why you want to create this type of 4 types of things, and why it is each one is so different?
Okay. Well, step back. And why creation? Because we want it. And what is it that we want? We want to enjoy separately from Krishna. Raga, Dvesha, Samutena, Dvandva Mohena Bharata. Nice verse from Bhagavad Gita. All living entities take birth in this material world overcome by the duality of 2 things. Dvandva, duality. Mohena, they become bewildered by Raga and Dvesha. Raga, this is a music term, but it also means you covet. You want to be the enjoyer. You want to be an imitation Purusha of Prakriti. There's a problem. There's somebody that's already the Purusha. So I have Dvesha towards Purusha. Raga, Dvesha. Towards Krishna. That's why so this world is for people who want to enjoy independently of Krishna. Guess what? You can't. We don't get sukha, you get dukkha. So that's why. Because it's illusory happiness that turns into misery. But so the better question is, why do living entities make this dumb choice? Dvesha towards Krishna. There's no good reason. It's a bad reason. It's really dumb. But because they want it, here's the creation. And with the wanting to enjoy where there isn't enjoyment, you get suffering instead. There's the answer to your question. So therefore you have modes of nature. And in Kali Yuga, the darker mode becomes more prominent. Here's a little visual. Here's a big vat of white paint. And I have an eyedropper over here of red and another one of blue. And I just put a couple drops in and stir. It's no longer white. But it's not just a little blue and little red. That's like passion and ignorance. But from passion and ignorance, it comes more passion and ignorance. Passion and ignorant activity increases that mode. It gets darker and darker and darker and darker and darker. It's not just off-white anymore. It's dark. That's Kali. Another visual image is a whirlpool. So supposing there's a whirlpool and you place a little chip of wood or something that floats on the outer perimeter of the whirlpool, what happens? It goes around and around and around and around and around and around and around, down, down. Kali Yuga. But then after Kali Yuga, Kalki comes, he liberates all the souls, and then Satya Yuga starts again. It's way back up at the top. It's this white vat of paint again. No, very little ignorance and passion. Then little ignorance and passion and stir. You get the idea. And why? It's not like he wants, we want. And he says, it's not a good idea. You suffer. No, I want. You have children, you probably go through it. She's smiling. What are you going to do? There's free will. And there's consequences from bad choices. But there's a fundamental bad choice. The fundamental bad choice is wanting to be an enjoyer separate from Krishna. That's the root. That's the primordial ignorance that results in Kali Yuga and all other bad things that, before Kali Yuga. Hiranyakashipu and Ravana and the whole thing. Shishupal and Dantavakra and the whole, the demoniac mentality arises from that disposition of raga and dvesha. We're all contaminated by it to some degree, otherwise we wouldn't be here. We want to enjoy independently. That's why we're here. And we're provided a playground, like children's sandbox. Go build a castle in the sandbox. It's child play. It has consequences. We have free will. So someone can say, well, why did God can just take away our free will? If that's the misuse of free will is a problem, he should just take it away. Like, cut your hands off. He doesn't interfere with our free will because then there wouldn't be love. Love is voluntary. Not, you love me or else, and there's nowhere else. Try that with your kids, come on.
You know why I'm doing that.
That's not love. But that's not love. That's not love. Love is that there is free will, and you induce the wise choices by your loving nature. And if there's another choice, there's free will. It's of the soul. You can't take it away. Krishna doesn't take it away. You can't take it away. Make wise choices. That's what parenting is. Help those who you love learn how to make wise choices. And that's what Krishna is trying to help us. But we say, no, I want something else. That's why creation. That's why these yoga cycles and the whole thing. He's got a question behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
This is fun, huh?
Like as we discussed today, Srimad Bhagavatam being the literature form of Krishna,
Yes.
being captured in that book or
Yes,
the Veda.
exactly.
So being from an Indian background or being fortunate to born in India, I get easily connected to that understanding, Maharaj.
Good.
But is there any other way to explain so that other parts of the people in the world can get connected, or is there any other form of explanation which gets connected to that truth or the knowledge?
Well, the most important other is good character. because that's compelling. And knowledge with bad character is uncomfortable. You follow what I'm saying? So, one of the best ways to help people that aren't familiar with this tradition and culture is to be of good character. Like in the workplace, or wherever your life takes you. You associate with people that, I call America the culture of no culture. And when people see culture, it's like, wow, what's that? It's attractive. You don't have to give them a Bhagavad Gita class or Srimad Bhagavatam class. Just be a cultured person in the workplace. Be a person of good character, inside and outside, even when provoked, good character inside and outside. People go, what's with this person? I mean, they won't exactly understand, but they understand there's something about this person. And sometimes people will test you to see where your breaking point is, and they'll do all kinds of things, because they're Kali Yuga people, but just stay fixed. And then somewhere along the line, somebody's going to come to you and say, hey, what's up? Or they'll say, I got this calamity in my life, and you're a spiritual person, I want to share with you and see what, if you have some thoughts you can share with me, because you're a spiritual person. They may not use those words, but that's the affective component of their communication, and then you have an opportunity to share. And you have to do it wisely. You don't, ton of bricks and too much at once. And Super Soul will guide a person of character how to. And then there's so many other strategies, but it starts with good character. I'll share one strategy. People today are very much influenced by negative emotions. In the pharmaceutical industry, I forget the current percentage, some 78% of pharmaceuticals has to deal with depression medications. People are harassed, and if not them, persons dear to them are harassed with depression. And it can be in Indian families too. It's not just the people in the West. So an approach, a strategy, is to help people understand how to overcome negative emotions. The Vedic process has it. A lot of it has to do with lifestyle. And a lot of it has to do with attachment. A lot of it has to do with, just doing meditation. Anyway, that's a strategy. Change of lifestyle, change of diet, change of, learn yoga and pranayama and do mantra meditation, and it'll help you with your negative emotions, etc. I mean, and just keeping it simple, there's many things. So find something that's important to people, and have them connect with something that's important to them that connects with the Vedic wisdom. And then they start to take interest. Stress management. Similar. How are we doing? Anything else? Yeah?
Yes, Maharaj. If you permit one thing, I can ask one question. So.
Permission granted. What is it?
Yeah. So.
He's funny, huh?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is when we came in the Krishna consciousness, I have been seeing so many Maharajas. Okay. Every time I felt to ask one question. So as being we are Indians, we struggle to read through all the Sanskrit and everything.
Okay.
But for you, I just wanted to know little more initial stages, how you And what was the situation, what caused it bring to you to attract you to the Krishna consciousness?
The human-
and if you permit,
The human interest story.
and initially, what did you feel like now? How you changed to more interest path? By hearing that, at least we try controlling.
It's 10 after 7. There's a long story, a medium story, and a short story.
So, yeah, here.
Another time, maybe a long story, but a short story is, I was a pre-med student, and I didn't get answers to important questions when I was young. And I just kind of stopped asking them because I got, like many young people do, got involved in studies, and I wasn't finding answers anyways, and so I put that on the back burner. And then some events happened, which is part of the medium and long story, and I started asking those questions again. And I wasn't getting any answers. And so then I started looking inward. I started looking to the religion that I came from, same no answers. Then I went into the spiritual marketplace and saw there's a zillion different options. And I was like a little kid in a candy store trying different options. Got a little stomach ache from eating too many different things. And, of the different things that I was exploring, I found some were especially effective. And I found sound meditation, because I didn't know anything from anything. Sound meditation was most effective. So I started zeroing in on different mantras. So different and I found that the chanting of Hare Krishna was most effective. And then I started reading, and I read many, and I didn't find them very satisfying. But I read 7 other translations of Bhagavad Gita before I read Prabhupada's, and I couldn't understand them. And then I got number 8 later, and it was easy to understand, and I was puzzled why it's easy to understand compared to the other 7 I couldn't understand. I was reading up, Rosicrucian books and Sufi books and Zen books and, all kinds of stuff, because I wanted to know. My mood was 3 things. There's a higher reality. Behind all this, there's a higher reality. Second, I know that I don't know what it is. That was a good one. And then the third one was, I want to know. That was the starting point. And I kind of did like a timeout with everything. My education and the career goals and all the things that I thought I was, and I want to know. I don't want to, the way I was saying it, I don't want to be on the conveyor belt of life, and I'm at the end of the conveyor belt and I still don't know. I don't want to get so busy with life that I don't know. Because people get so busy, they don't even ask, they don't take the time out to ask, who am I? Really? Anyway, so I didn't want to do that. I was a little cranky about it. I'm not going to make that, I'm not going to do that. I want to know. So, Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita answered more questions than any of the other things that I read. The Maha Mantra was more effective in spiritualizing my consciousness than any of the other types of things I had experimented with. And then I met Prabhupada. You meet a perfect person. It was over. So I just dedicate my life to him.
That's, it's a short version. There's lots of in-between details.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
It just has an add-on. So after about 2 years of living, I decided, rather than, because I heard Bhakti Siddhanta had used this expression, don't lick on the outside of the bottle of honey. You open the bottle of honey and stick your finger in, then you know what the taste is. The taste of honey. So I said, I don't want to be licking on the jar of honey. I want to dive in. So I joined an ashram, just to find out what's immersion like. And then after I understood this is what immersion is like, I stepped back and said, okay, now do I want to complete my medical training? It was like a conscious contemplation. So because I could live my life as a medical doctor and, be a Hare Krishna conscious person in that field. And I thought, well, I really like what I'm doing. Not like there's anything about my life that's like I'm not happy with. And there's lots of doctors out there. There's not so many people that are prepared to dedicate themselves like this. And dedicating myself like this, it gives me a lot of freedom. And most likely in the course of time I'll meet some doctors and help them become Hare Krishna doctors. So I'll just stay. But there's nothing wrong if I had gone that other path, and that's fine too. But there was some core training that helped me to understand what a life of devotion to Krishna felt like and looked like, and what are the elements involved in it, so I could carry on in whatever the future of my life took me. Kind of like boot camp, and then I can do whatever. Now, you're brought up in India, but you didn't have boot camp. So, you've got wife and children and a job and stuff, and you got to figure out how to fit Krishna consciousness into it, kind of after the fact. Although, in your upbringing, Krishna's, Vedic culture is already there. Now, for your kids, it's another story. It's another story. It's another story. Share with them this little essay a girl that wrote, that went to college, and from an Indian family, and struggled with finding out who she was, between having appreciation for Vedic culture, but kind of at the same time being a little ashamed of being who she was, amongst her peers. And then, when she was a student at Rutgers University, and she found the Indian students were more judgmental towards her and her values than the American kids, because they were kind of hiding it, and they're running the other way. So anyway, what you're going through, what they're going through is different, is all I'm saying here. And they need understanding and support. Not easy. How old are you?
I'm 9.
You're 9. And you're?
I'm 11.
11.
Today is her birthday.
She's today 9. Today only she turned
Just
9.
Wow, happy birthday. So, my empathy goes to both of you, and anybody that's growing up in America, not just America, anybody who's growing up in the world today. It's really perplexing. In between, this and that, and trying to sort it all out. And anyway, it's not easy. But the core hasn't changed. The core principles, that which can ground you in what real value is, and align the choices you make according to what real value is, and be really clear. I need to know what real value is and why, not just what. When you read this little essay, and you'll find out this person's Gopika Sharma is her name, wrote something about it. And this I've shared with many of the young people. They said, "Oh, we've already read it last week, and all our peers are talking about it." And it's not easy. Not easy for you, and it's less easy for them, as far as I'm concerned. Because you've got your roots, and they're trying to sort out, like, where am I and who am I, and all that.
Yeah, that is the concerns,
Yeah, of course.
Discuss,
of course.
We have a roots, but for them to have same kind of process. So as a parent, we always expect, right?
Oh.
So I'm in the junction to choose options, go back to my.
But you can't if you busy yourself making choices for them, their roots aren't going to be grown. They have to make their choices. You make a nurturing environment where they can make wise choices, and you help them make wise choices. But, let them make their choices. You support and nourish, that's parenting. Good luck. Okay, what else? We're done. Online questions. Okay, I'm surprised if they're still on. Pass the microphone over.
Question from Satish Patnakar. Some people think Sadashiva is the creator. Can you please comment how Sadashiva relates to Sri Krishna and the overall creation?
Yeah, well, going back to some earlier discussion, when Vyasadeva divided the one Veda into four, and then the Puranas and Itihasas, because Mahabharata is in the Itihasa category, which is one of the creations of Vyas. So, if you read Tattva Sandarbha, you might want to read Tattva Sandarbha. You seem to like this topic. So he explains the Puranas are divided. There's 18 principal Puranas, and you divide 3 into 18, you get what? 3 into 18 goes how many times? 3 into 18. No. How many times? Oh, come on. 3 times 6 is 18, right? Oh. Divide 3 into 18, you get 6. So 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. There's 18 principal Puranas, each for one of the modes of nature. So there's persons that are in the mode of ignorance, and there's Puranas that help the persons that are in the mode of ignorance go towards the goal. Persons in the mode of passion go towards the goal. Persons in the mode of goodness go towards the goal. There's sattvic Puranas. So amongst those sattvic Puranas, one is Sudra Sattva. That's the Bhagavatam. So now the question over here was, some places it says all kinds of things. In this Purana and that Purana and the other Purana, they'll say different things because it's encouraging people who are in different modes. In those Puranas that encourage people in this mode or that mode, there's also the transcendental teaching that says Vishnu is the source of everything. And side by side, they'll say some other things, like this statement. I don't know which Purana it says Sadashiva is the source of everything. But knowing what I know about the Puranas without knowing that particular scriptural reference, it's in one of the other Puranas that's not the Sattvic Purana. It's encouraging people that are in that, like, Devi Bhagavat, for example. It's one of the Tamasic Puranas. Devi Bhagavat. And people that worship Devi as the supreme. Well, that's not what the Sattvic Puranas say. There's energy, Shakti, and Devi is one of the Shaktis, but then there's Shaktiman, the possessor of Shakti. So which is the basis? Is the possessor of Shakti or Shakti the basis? And the possessor of Shakti is the basis. Like the sun gives off sunshine, and the shine is the Shakti. And the sun is the basis of the shine. The sun, shine is dependent upon the sun, not the other way around. So in Devi Bhagavat and some other Puranas, it says all kinds of interesting things. So how is a nice person, a person like this person asking this question, to take something over here says this? You step back, look at the big picture, and there's modes of nature influencing people, and Puranas are for those people. And then there's a Sattvic, it's clear, it's right in this Tattva Sandarbha. Krishna is very clear, the mode of goodness is best. So the Sattvic Puranas are the best, and amongst the best is the superlative. Shuddha Sattva. So we take that conclusion and we understand other statements it's a inspiration for persons in the modes of nature that want to see the way that they take this reference, and that's it. Sadashiva is supreme. End of story.
Question from Rukmavati Mataji. Are there any personalities in the Srimad Bhagavatam where conditioned soul, after going to heavenly planets, realized Krishna and went back to Godhead?
I'm not aware, but it's certainly possible.
Another question from Satish Bhatnagar. I have heard that as soon as one dies, the soul gets its next body immediately. From another source I heard the soul goes through training on how to behave in the new body after death. How can we synthesize these two if true?
I've never heard the second one. Rather, the soul is immediately transferred into the womb of the next mother. Let's take this example. A comatose condition is where the body is uninhabitable. It's no longer fit for human habitation. But the soul is still there. Sometimes people come out of a coma, and some people stay in a coma for a long time. And then they go on. But that coma means the next body hasn't been decided yet. So the body is not fit to stay in, but the next body isn't ready to move on to yet. So when the next body is ready, they move on. They go to the womb of the next mother, and that's it. But if it is decided, well, it's not ready yet, then they can come out of the coma and conduct their life in a different way. So that's my answer to the question.
Question from Giri Vatikota. Is there a way to know if super soul in our heart is pleased?
Yes. Guru Sadhu Shastra. That's how we know.
I have one question.
Okay.
It's a practical application question. I was thinking about that pastime of Lord Balaram and Ramaharshan.
Yeah.
So there is an etiquette that he did not follow.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about one etiquette where sometimes we have prasadam at the prasadam hall, and spiritual master walks in. What is the correct etiquette?
Well, let's ask another one. If you're before the deity and the spiritual master walks in, what do? You don't offer obeisances before the Supreme Lord to anyone. So that's why we close the curtain before Tulsi worship. Prabhupada made a personal exception for himself, and we're not the exceptional persons. So you don't offer obeisances before the deity, but when taking prasadam, I don't know what the rule is, because it's Krishna prasadam, but paying obeisances makes sense to me because it's not a deity, although it's Krishna prasadam. You pay obeisances. Make sure where you don't put your head in the middle of your plate.
I have one more. So there are different Puranas. Out of the 18, we have Sattvic Purana, Rajasic and Tamasic. Maharaj, you mentioned.
Yeah.
Sometimes we quote from like Skanda Purana, which is not mode of goodness Purana.
But we know which parts to quote from because our acharyas have selected what to quote from.
That was my question.
Okay.
There is a question from yesterday's class.
Okay. I think we're going to end with this yesterday's class question because I think we're exhausted.
This is regarding the discussion we had with behavior in the iceberg, behavior, values.
Yeah.
Question from Amara Mataji. How do we understand that we are exercising our values on spiritual platform and not just in goodness?
Well, we can assume that we're not on the spiritual platform yet.
So then the second question is, what can we practically do in our day-to-day life to develop spiritual conception of various qualities like humility, kindness, truthfulness?
Follow the bhakti process. When there's qualities of a devotee that are listed in the scripture, and amongst the qualities of devotee, one is called Svarup Lakshana, the principal characteristic, and the others are called Tatastha Lakshana, or marginal characteristics. So when the principal characteristic is in place, the marginal ones follow. When you have a horse, you put the horse before the cart, and the horse pulls the cart. So the horse that pulls the cart, the good qualities, the horse that pulls the cart is Krishna Eka Sharanam. That's Rupa Goswami's language. Surrender to Krishna alone. Do you do that one? You got the other ones. At least in due course of time. Krishna will decorate. That's it. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai, and happy birthday to you.
Jai.